Hello all, Dr. JC here. Welcome again to another episode of History in 3 with Dr. JC. Today's episode is going to focus on the Holocaust in Denmark, specifically the little known, appreciated, or understood fact that Danish Jews suffered least out of any and all nations that were occupied by Nazi Germany during World War II. We'll talk about the hows and whys here next. When German forces invaded Denmark, and Norway for that matter, in April of 1940, there were roughly about 7,800 Jews living in Denmark at the time. Because Denmark was so important agriculturally to the Third Reich, in some ways it was a bit of a breadbasket for them. Germans allowed Danes quite a bit of self-autonomy during the war. So even though occupied, even though there are going to be secret police forces, the Gestapo or Schutzstaffel, the SS forces there, Danes will have quite a bit of control. Thus, part of the Danish government's messaging, especially after they heard about the Jewish problem and Jews being rounded up throughout Nazi-occupied areas of Europe, especially in Poland, was that we don't have a Jewish problem here. We don't. And in fact, some Nazi Party officials sided with that message of the Danish government. Let's tread lightly here. There's not that many Jews in Denmark, and we need them to supply us food, not just for our armies, but for our people here in Germany. And in fact, this narrative, this line, it held pretty well until about 1943. In 1943, when news of German defeats in Stalingrad, reversals in North Africa reached Denmark, Danes recognized German occupation might not be permanent. At the same time those reversals are occurring, changes in the Nazi Party leadership as it relates to the Jewish problem are ratcheted up as well. Thus, what might not have been a problem in Denmark is now a problem. So not only will we see Danish attitudes change in 1943, so will be the targeting of Danish Jews in 1943 by the Schutzstaffel and Gestapo. By August of 1943, German officials took direct control of Denmark. Danish Jews had real reason for concern. News was leaked to the Danes that Danish Jews would be rounded up. Now, this is a bit of a Schindler's List here. Whether the leak that Danish Jews would be rounded up was initiated by a Werner Best, a high-ranking Nazi Party official, or his right-hand man, a naval attaché by the name of Georg Duckwitz, we're not entirely sure. But the leak did come from German sources. Upon hearing of this roundup, Danish authorities, their underground, and anyone willing to assist immediately began to funnel Danish Jews toward the coast, to little fishing villages like Drauer and Amager depicted here. Once at the coast, passage could be secured across the Øresund to Sweden, a neutral nation in freedom. And while some Danish Jews will be lost in the crossing, some crack under psychological pressure and take their own lives, over 90% of Danish Jews will make it to Sweden, ferried across on little boats like the Elisabeth K571 depicted here, carrying Swedish passports provided by the Swedish government. So a healthy shout out to all Scandinavians here, and a meaningful and useful shout out to the Werner Bests and Georg Duckwitzes of the world as well. Germans who raised the alarm and live very well the saying on the placard in Drauer Harbor today, that he who saves the life of a single human being saves all of humanity. For History in 3 with Dr. JC, this is Dr. John Chapo. I want to say thanks for tuning in to this brief glimpse into the Holocaust in Denmark, and look forward to having you along in other current or future History in 3 with Dr. JC episodes as well.